What if I told you that you are not here by accident? That your existence on this planet is not a random coincidence, not a mistake, not some accident of biology or chance? What if I revealed to you that hidden within you is a specific design, a unique blueprint, a divine intention that was placed there long before you were born? And what if I told you that the questions you've been carrying inside, those questions that whisper to you late at night or rise up in moments of silence, are not signs of confusion, but actually signals guiding you back to your true purpose? You see, most people go through life never pausing to ask the questions that matter most. They wake up, go to work, pay bills, get distracted, chase after survival, and then repeat the cycle again. They move forward, yet deep inside they feel something is missing, as if life should be more than this. And here's the truth. They are right. Life is more than this, because there is something greater, something deeper, something eternal about who you really are. As you listen to my voice right now, I want you to imagine that we are pressing pause on the noise of the world. For just a few moments, nothing else matters. Not your job, not your stress, not the deadlines, not the expectations. Right now, what matters is you, your existence, your essence, your truth. Because whether you realize it or not, everything about your life flows from how you answer 5 questions. These 5 questions are the foundation of meaning, the pillars of purpose, the root of identity. They determine how you see yourself, how you live each day, how you interact with others, and ultimately how you experience this gift called life. And here is what's so striking. Every culture, every religion, every philosophy, every human heart has wrestled with these same 5 questions. Doesn't matter if you are rich or poor, young or old, educated or uneducated, believer or skeptic. These questions are universal. The first question is, who am I? The second question is, where did I come from? The third question is, why am I here? The fourth question is, what can I do? And the fifth question is, where am I going? These 5 questions may look simple, but they carry the weight of destiny. They hold the power to either anchor your life in clarity or trap you in confusion. They are the questions that shape nations, build societies, fuel creativity, and ignite revolutions. They are also the questions that, when left unanswered, can lead to frustration, emptiness, and despair. When you don't know who you are, you spend your life trying to be someone else. When you don't know where you came from, you feel disconnected and lost. When you don't know why you are here, you drift without purpose. When you don't know what you can do, you underestimate your potential. And when you don't know where you are going, you live in fear of the future. But here's the good news. These questions do have answers. Clear, timeless, profound answers. And once you discover them, everything changes. The fog lifts, the confusion fades, and a new sense of confidence begins to rise inside you. Suddenly, life is no longer about surviving. It becomes about thriving. It becomes about living intentionally, fully and authentically. But here is the challenge. Most people never take the time to search deeply enough. They get distracted by surface-level pursuit. They chase money without knowing their value. They chase positions without knowing their purpose. They chase pleasure without understanding meaning. And in doing so, they silence the very questions that were meant to guide them. I want you to think of these questions as the operating system of your mind. Just like a computer cannot function without an operating system, your life cannot function without answers to these questions. And the thing about operating systems is this: if you don't install the right one, something else will install itself. If you don't decide who you are, the world will try to decide it for you. If you don't define your purpose, others will use you for their. If you don't discover your destiny, you will end up wandering through someone else's plan. This is why these 5 questions are not optional, they are essential. They are not just philosophical, they are practical. Because every choice you make, every relationship you enter, every goal you set is directly shaped by how you answer them. So today we begin a journey to rediscover the deepest truths about who you are and why you exist. And this journey begins with the first and most important question of all: who am I? Who am I? This may sound like a simple question, but it is the most profound one you will ever ask. Because how you answer this question determines the foundation of your entire life. If you don't know who you are, you will spend your life pretending to be someone you're not. You will shape yourself according to the opinions of others, chase identities handed to you by society, and measure your worth by standards that were never designed for you. And here lies the tragedy. Most people die without ever meeting their true self. They become experts in their careers, in their roles, in their responsibilities, but remain strangers to their own identity. They say, I am a doctor, I am a teacher, I am a student, I am a parent. But those are not identities, they are roles, and roles can change. The question remains, when the roles are stripped away, who are you? You see, identity is not about what you do, it's about who you are. It's not about titles or possessions, it's about essence. Imagine taking away everything you've been taught to use as your definition. Not your job, not your achievements, not your relationships, not your status, not even your failures. If all of that disappeared tomorrow, what would remain? That remaining core, that unshakable truth about you is your identity. And the dangerous thing is, if you don't know it, others will always define it for you. The world will tell you that you are what you own, that you are what you achieve, that you are how you look, that you are the approval you receive. But these are illusions, and illusions are fragile. The moment money is gone, the moment beauty fades, the moment titles are lost, the illusion of identity collapses, and you are left with emptiness. This is why so many people live in constant insecurity. They tie their self-worth to external things. If they succeed, they feel valuable. If they fail, they feel worthless. If people praise them, they feel confident. If people criticize them, they crumble. Their entire sense of identity is built on shifting ground. But here is the truth you need to understand. Your identity is not fragile, it is eternal. It is not earned, it is given. It is not something you create, it is something you discover. Because at the core of your being, you are more than flesh, more than a name, more than a profession. You are a soul, a consciousness, a unique expression of something far greater than yourself. Think about it for a moment. Your body changes every year. The cells that made up your body a decade ago are gone, replaced by new ones. Your thoughts, your emotions, your preferences evolve over time. The roles you play shift from one stage of life to another, yet something remains constant, something that says, this is still me. That unchanging awareness, that continuity is your true self. And here's the profound reality. When you discover who you truly are, you no longer need to compare yourself to anyone else. Comparison is the symptom of identity confusion. You look to others to define your value because you have not yet recognized your own. But once you know your essence, once you anchor yourself in your true identity, comparison loses its grip. You don't need to be anyone else because no one else can be you. I want you to picture a seed. To the naked eye, it looks small, insignificant, fragile. But hidden inside that seed is an entire tree with branches, leaves, fruit, and shade. The seed does not need to borrow from the tree next to it. It does not need to compare itself with other seeds. Its identity and destiny are already encoded within it. It simply needs the right environment to grow. In the same way, everything about who you are was already placed inside you. Your gifts, your strength, your uniqueness, they are part of your design. The challenge is not to create identity, but to uncover it. And here is where so many people get stuck. They search for identity in temporary places, careers, relationships, social media approval. They wear masks to fit in, forgetting that authenticity is the only path to fulfillment. You cannot be happy living as someone else. You cannot experience freedom pretending to be what others expect. And the longer you wear a mask, the more you forget the face underneath. But when you begin to strip away the lies, the false labels, the borrowed definitions, you begin to rediscover yourself. And the rediscovery of self is the beginning of power. So I ask you again, who are you? If your first instinct is to answer with your job, your age, your family role, or your achievements, pause, because that's not the answer. Go deeper. Peel back the layers. Ask yourself, who am I without all of it? Who am I at the core when everything else is silent? This is not an easy question. In fact, it may be the hardest one you ever wrestle with, but it is also the most liberating, because once you answer it, no one can take it away from you. Jobs can be lost, money can be taken, people can walk away, but identity, true identity, remains. And here is the promise I want you to hold on to. Once you discover your true identity, every other question begins to fall into place, because identity is the foundation. It is the root from which everything grows, and without it, nothing makes sense. But with it, everything comes alive. The greatest danger in life is not failure, but success in the wrong identity. Because when you succeed at being someone you are not, you still lose. You can climb to the top of the ladder, but if the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, every step only takes you further away from who you were meant to be. And this is why so many people reach what the world calls success and still feel empty. They have money, influence, recognition, and yet in the silence of their own hearts, they whisper, "Is this all?" That emptiness is the voice of a neglected identity, the cry of a self that has been ignored, covered, and replaced by something artificial. From the time you were born, society began to shape you. Parents, teachers, culture, media, all of them wrote labels and placed them on you. Some of those labels were affirming, but many were limiting. you're too loud, you're not smart enough, you'll never make it. Or sometimes it was the opposite. You're the smart one, you're the strong one, you're the one who must never fail. And so you grow up carrying invisible expectations, trying to live up to words that may not even belong to you. Slowly, without realizing, you start to wear an identity that is not yours. You play roles not because you chose them, but because they were assigned to you. And the world around you does not make it easier. Every advertisement, every social platform, every trend is shouting at you, telling you who you should be. If you don't look a certain way, you're not valuable. If you don't own certain things, you're not successful. If you don't live a certain lifestyle, you're not relevant. The pressure to conform is relentless. And what's worse, many people spend their entire lives chasing an image that was never real to begin with. They measure themselves against standards that were designed to keep them insecure, always chasing but never arriving. But here is the truth you must confront. When you build your life on false identity, you are building on sand. It does not matter how strong the structure looks. One storm will expose the weakness, and life has storms. Sooner or later, reality crashes in. And if your identity was built on possessions, you will collapse when they are gone. If your identity was built on looks, you will collapse when beauty fades. If your identity was built on people's approval, you will collapse the moment they turn against you. This collapse is devastating because it is not just about losing something, it is about losing yourself. But here is the hope. You can choose to break free. You can unlearn the false identities that were handed to you. You can peel away the masks and return to authenticity. And the moment you do, something powerful happens. You stop performing and you start living. No more pretending, no more exhausting efforts to be accepted. You begin to stand in the truth of who you are, and that truth is unshakable. It gives you confidence that no compliment can inflate and no criticism can destroy. You must understand, the system of this world profits from your confusion. Entire industries thrive on your insecurity. Fashion, entertainment, even politics, they all know that if you are unsure of who you are, you can be manipulated. If you don't know your identity, you will always buy an image. You will always follow the loudest voice. You will always bend under pressure because you are searching for something you already carry. But once you discover who you truly are, you become dangerous to that system because you no longer buy out of fear. You no longer follow out of pressure. You no longer bow to false definitions. You walk in freedom, and that kind of freedom cannot be controlled. Think about it. The people who changed history were not those who conformed, but those who knew who they were. They stood out because they stood firm in their identity. They were misunderstood, criticized, even hated, but they could not be shaken. Why? Because identity is stronger than opinion. When you know who you are, you can stand in the face of rejection and remain unbroken. You can walk into environments that try to define you and refuse to shrink. You can lose everything externally and still remain whole internally. This is why rediscovering your identity is not just about self-esteem, it is about survival. If you don't define yourself, life will define you. And that definition will always be too small, too fragile, too temporary. You were not born to live as a copy. You were born as an original, carrying something no one else carries. And until you embrace that, you will live beneath your potential. So I say again, the greatest tragedy is not death, but life without purpose. And purpose begins with identity. Until you know who you are, you cannot know why you are here. Until you know who you are, you cannot know what you are capable of. Until you know who you are, you cannot know where you are going. That is why this first question, who am I, is not just important, it is essential. Answer it and you will find freedom. Ignore it and you will live as a prisoner. Every product's value is determined by its source. If you buy a diamond, the price depends on where it came from, the mine, the quality of its origin. If you buy a car, the first question people ask is, who made? If it was made by a respected manufacturer, people immediately assume it carries reliability and worth. Source determines value, source determines confidence, source determines identity. And so the second great question of human existence is this: where do I come from? Because if you don't know your source, you cannot know your worth. If you believe you are the product of random accidents, you will live as if your life is disposable. But if you know you are the intentional creation of God, you will walk with dignity because you understand you were made by the highest source possible. For centuries, humanity has wrestled with this question. Some say you came from animals, evolving slowly through chance and mutation. Others say you are nothing more than matter, a collection of cells with no greater meaning than survival. And yet deep inside every human heart, there is a resistance to that idea. Because if you truly believe you were just an accident, why would you search for meaning? Why would you dream? Why would you hope? Why would you long for eternity? These desires inside you are evidence of something more. They are whispers of your origin. When you hold a product in your hand, the first thing you look for is the brand. That small logo tells you everything about where it came from. And in the same way, God placed his brand on you. Let us make man in our image, in our likeness. That was his declaration at creation. He stamped his identity into you. You are not a cheap imitation. You carry the mark of the Creator. That means your value does not come from people's opinion. It comes from the one who made you. You can be rejected by others and still remain valuable because your worth was established before anyone had an opinion about you. Consider this. If a watch says made in Switzerland, people trust it. If a car says made in Germany, people assume excellence. But what about you? Your label says made in heaven. Your source is divine. Your origin is eternal. That means you were created with intention, with design, with purpose. You are not an experiment. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You were thought of, planned, and formed by God himself. And that knowledge changes everything. Because here is the truth. When you don't know your source, you misuse your life. When you believe you came from nothing, you treat your life like it is nothing. That is why so many people waste their years in addictions, in destructive habits, in meaningless pursuits, because they believe deep down that their existence has no real weight. But once you realize your source is God, suddenly life is sacred. Your choices matter, your body matters, your relationships matter, because you understand you carry the image of the eternal. Let me give you an example. If I give you a piece of paper with my handwriting on it, it may not mean much. But if I give you a piece of paper with the handwriting of a great leader, a historical figure, or a world-changing thinker, suddenly that paper becomes priceless. The paper is the same, but the source of the handwriting changes its value. In the same way, your body may look ordinary to people, but the source that designed it makes it extraordinary. You are carrying divine handwriting. Every detail of you was written by God, and that makes you irreplaceable. This is why culture has worked so hard to erase God from our origin story. Because if you can convince people they came from nothing, you can control them. If you can convince them their lives are accidents, they will live beneath their potential. They will accept abuse, accept limitation, accept hopelessness. But when someone realizes they come from God, they stop settling. They begin to rise. They begin to walk in dignity. They begin to demand more of themselves because they know their source is excellent. So the question is not just where did I come from? The deeper question is, do I know the source that made me? Because if you know your source, you will live according to it. A product is always tested by the manufacturer before it is released to ensure it works. In the same way, God already tested and approved you before he released you into this world. That means you have everything you need to succeed built inside of you. You are not missing anything. You just need to reconnect with your source. And here is the power of it. If God is your source, then your potential is limitless, because what determines the capacity of a product is the company behind it. And if the company is heaven itself, then your capacity is beyond measure. That is why the Bible says, with God, all things are possible. It's not just a religious phrase, it is a statement of source. Because when your source is God, you are never operating on your own. You are connected to the one who has no limits, no shortage, no weakness. So I ask you again, where do you come from? If you answer this question wrongly, your entire life will be misdirected. But if you answer it rightly, everything begins to align. Because once you know your origin, you begin to live with purpose. You begin to see yourself different. You begin to carry yourself with confidence. You begin to dream bigger because you know the one who made you never designed you for smallness. The most dangerous thing in life is not death, it is life without purpose. Because when you do not know why you exist, you misuse your existence. Think about it. If you don't know the purpose of a car, you might try to use it as a house and you'll end up frustrated. If you don't know the dose of a pen, you might try to use it as a toy and it will never give you the result you need. Misuse is always the result of misunderstanding. And the tragedy is, the same is true for human being. When you don't know why you are here, you end up abusing yourself, wasting your time, and living far beneath your potential. You were not created randomly. You were not placed on earth without intention. Purpose is the original reason for your creation, the very thought in the mind of God that caused him to design you. You are not a mistake trying to find meaning. You are meaning wrapped in a body. But here is the challenge. Purpose is not invented, it is discovered. You don't decide your purpose, you uncover it. Just like no product can tell itself why it exists, you cannot decide your own reason for being. The manufacturer determines the purpose, not the product, which means the only way to know why you are here is to return to the one who made you. This is why so many people spend their lives chasing things that never satisfy. They think purpose is in money, so they chase it until they get it and then realize they are still empty. They think purpose is in relationships, so they run from one person to another, hoping someone will give their life meaning, only to be disappointed again and again. They think purpose is in fame, so they pursue recognition, only to discover that the applause fades and the loneliness remains. None of these things are wrong in themselves, but they cannot carry the weight of purpose. Purpose is deeper, purpose is eternal, purpose is the reason you were born. When you live without purpose, life becomes heavy. You wake up tired. You go to bed restless because nothing feels meaningful. Every day feels like repetition. You survive, but you don't live. And this is why so many people escape into addictions, distractions, or entertainment, because they are trying to fill the void of a purposeless life. But no matter how much you try to escape, the question follows you. Why am I here? Until you answer it, you will always feel incomplete. But once you discover your purpose, everything changes. Suddenly, your life gains direction. You stop wasting time on things that do not matter. You stop comparing yourself to others because you understand that your assignment is unique. You stop being jealous of others because you realize their purpose is theirs, not yours. Purpose brings clarity, and clarity brings peace. It gives you the courage to say no to distractions because you are too focused on your destiny. It gives you resilience because even when life gets hard, you know the struggle is connected to something bigger than yourself. And here is a powerful truth. Purpose is not about you. It is about what you were sent to give the world. Everything in creation was designed to solve a problem. The sun solves the problem of darkness. Trees solve the problem of oxygen. Water solves the problem of thirst. In the same way, you were created to solve a problem on earth. There is something inside you that someone else desperately needs. Until you release it, the world will remain incomplete. That means you are not here to consume only. You are here to contribute. Your life is a gift, and gifts are meant to be given. Purpose also protects you. It protects you from misuse by others. When you don't know why you are here, people will tell you why. They will pull you into their agendas, their plans, their definitions, and before you know it, you are living their lives instead of your own. But when you know your purpose, you become unshakable. You stop living for approval. You stop being manipulated by guilt. You stop being pulled in 1,000 directions. You live with focus, and that focus becomes your strength. So I ask you again, why are you here? If you cannot answer that, then every achievement you chase will feel empty. But when you find the answer, even the smallest action will feel significant. Washing dishes, raising children, serving at work, suddenly all of it connects to your greater mission. Life stops being random and starts being intentional. You no longer wander, you walk with direction, and that is the difference between existing and living. La mayoría de las personas en este planeta no mueren porque hayan gastado todo su potencial, mueren con él aún dentro. El cementerio es el lugar más rico de la tierra, porque allí descansan libros que nunca fueron escritos, canciones que nunca fueron cantadas, empresas que nunca fueron iniciadas, inventos que nunca fueron creados, sueños que nunca fueron perseguidos, y todo eso se perdió, no porque esas personas no tuvieran la capacidad, sino porque nunca descubrieron lo que realmente podían hacer. Y esa es la pregunta que define tu grandeza. ¿Qué puedo hacer? No qué ha hecho mi vecino, no qué esperan mis padres, no qué dicta la sociedad, sino qué está dentro de mí que aún no he revelado. Tu verdadero potencial es como un campo de diamantes enterrado bajo tus pies. Cada talento, cada habilidad, cada chispa de creatividad está esperando que la reconozcas y la desarrolles. Lo más peligroso de la vida es creer que lo que has hecho es todo lo que puedes hacer. Porque la verdad es que lo que ya lograste es solo una sombra de lo que aún eres capaz de lograr. La evidencia de tu potencial no se encuentra en lo que has realizado, sino en lo que aún no has intentado. El hecho de que todavía tengas vida, aliento y conciencia es la prueba de que aún queda más dentro de ti. Si tu propósito estuviera cumplido por completo, ya no estarías aquí. El potencial es como una semilla. Una semilla de manzana puede producir no solo un árbol, sino miles de manzanas y dentro de ellas miles de semillas más. El potencial nunca termina en lo visible, siempre es mayor de lo que se ve en la superficie. Tú también eres una semilla cargada de multiplicación, ideas, dones, capacidad. Pero si no plantas esa semilla, si no la riegas, si no la cuidas, tu potencial nunca se convertirá en fruto. El desafío es que el potencial no se descubre en la comodidad, se revela en el esfuerzo, en la presión, en el riesgo. ¿Quieres saber lo que puedes hacer? Atrévete a hacer lo que nunca has hecho. Solo cuando sales de tu zona de confort, descubres la fuerza que ni sabías que tenías. La adversidad no llega para destruirte, sino para mostrarte de qué estás hecho. Las dificultades no son muros, son espejos que te revelan tu verdadera capacidad. Dentro de ti hay más sabiduría de la que usas, más creatividad de la que expresas, más resistencia de la que crees, más amor del que entregas, más poder del que imaginas. Nunca pienses que lo que hoy ves en ti es todo lo que hay, siempre hay más. Y esa es la esencia del potencial ilimitado, expansivo, eterno mientras vivas. Pero aquí está la clave. Tu potencial no se desarrolla solo, tienes que ejercitarlo. Talento sin disciplina es como un diamante sin pulir, valioso pero opaco. Don sin práctica es como un instrumento afinado que nunca se toca, silencioso pero con melodía escondida. Cada día que eliges no usar lo que tienes, el mundo pierde algo que solo tú podías aportar. No te compares con otros. Ellos tienen su propio potencial, su propio llamado, su propio proceso. Compararte es la forma más rápida de desperdiciar tu energía. La única comparación válida es contigo mismo. Hoy estoy usando más de lo que ayer creía posible. Estoy explorando más de lo que ayer me atrevía a intentar. Imagina por un momento, ¿qué pasaría si decidieras liberar solo un poco más de lo que llevas dentro? Imagina si escribieras ese libro, si grabaras esa canción, si empezaras ese negocio, si te arriesgaras en ese proyecto. Imagina lo que el mundo vería si dejaras de esconder tu capacidad por miedo a fallar. Porque el fracaso no es la evidencia de que no puedes, es simplemente la confirmación de que lo estás intentando. Y cada intento libera un poco más de lo que llevas dentro. Así que te pregunto otra vez, ¿qué puedes hacer? Y la respuesta más honesta es esta: todavía no lo sabes, porque hasta que te atrevas a explorar tus límites, nunca descubrirás que en realidad no tienes ninguno. La pregunta final que define toda tu vida es ¿hacia dónde voy? Muchos viven sin preguntárselo, caminando sin rumbo, reaccionando a lo que sucede, atrapados en la corriente del tiempo. Pero la dirección de tu vida no es un accidente, no eres un barco a la deriva. Cada acción, cada decisión, cada hábito te acerca a algún destino. La pregunta es, ¿ese destino lo eliges tú o lo decide la vida por ti? Cuando no sabes hacia dónde vas, cualquier viento es enemigo, cualquier obstáculo parece insuperable, cada crítica, cada rechazo, cada dificultad se siente como un golpe fatal. Pero si sabes tu dirección, si tienes un propósito claro, incluso las tormentas se convierten en aliados. Te enseñan, te fortalecen, te guían. Porque cuando tienes un destino, no hay fracaso, solo retroalimentación. Cada error es un paso más cerca de donde realmente debes estar. Tu destino no se mide en años, ni en dinero, ni en reconocimiento. Se mide en la vida que impactas, en los sueños que realizas, en el legado que dejas. Y aquí está la verdad más poderosa: tu destino fue terminado antes de que naciera. Cada talento que posees, cada circunstancia que has vivido, cada pasión que late dentro de ti, fue diseñado para que cumplieras algo específico en este mundo. No eres un accidente, no es casualidad que estés aquí. El problema es que muchos nunca lo descubren. Se quedan atrapados siguiendo el camino de otros, buscando validación externa, persiguiendo lo que parece importante, pero no lo es para ellos. Y la vida pasa. Los años se acumulan, los sueños se enfrían y un día despiertan y se preguntan, ¿eso era todo? Ese vacío que sienten no es falta de placer ni de dinero, es falta de destino. Tu destino está ligado a tus decisiones. Cada decisión consciente que tomas te acerca a él. Cada acción alineada con tu propósito, sin importar lo pequeña que parezca, te pone en el camino correcto. Y aquí está la libertad. Nadie puede caminar tu destino por ti. Nadie puede lograr tus metas, sentir tu pasión o cumplir tu propósito en tu lugar. Es solo tuyo y eso lo hace poderoso, único y irreemplazable. La pregunta ¿hacia dónde voy? Exige claridad. No basta con soñar, no basta con desear. Debes definir tu destino con precisión, como un arquitecto con planos, como un piloto con coordenadas, como un creador con visión. Y una vez definido, debes actuar. La claridad sin acción es ilusión. La acción sin claridad es caos. Solo la combinación de ambas garantiza progreso. Tu destino también está entrelazado con el servicio. La vida más plena no es la que se centra en uno mismo, sino la que utiliza los talentos, la sabiduría y los dones para impactar a otros. Lo que haces por los demás se multiplica, se recuerda, deja huella. Cuando alineas tu camino con tu propósito y con un impacto positivo, tu destino se convierte en legado. Nunca subestimamos los pequeños pasos. Caminar un día más con intención, elegir una acción más que se alinea con tu visión, decidir actuar a pesar del miedo, todo eso construye tu destino. La consistencia es el motor que transforma sueños en realidad. Cada decisión importa, cada acción importa, cada momento cuenta. Recuerda siempre esto, si estás aquí todavía tienes tiempo, tu destino no está perdido, no importa de dónde vienes ni las circunstancias que enfrentas, lo único que determina hacia dónde vas es lo que eliges hacer ahora, en este momento. Camina con propósito, decide con claridad, actúa con fe y el camino que Dios, la vida o el universo ha preparado para ti se abrirá. Tu destino no es un misterio, es una llamada. No es un accidente, es un diseño. No es algo que solo se descubre, es algo que se construye. Y cada día que eliges avanzar conscientemente, cada día que te alineas con tu propósito, te acercas más al cumplimiento de la razón por la que estás aquí. Tu destino te está esperando. Camina hacia él con valentía, confianza y determinación. Ahora que has explorado quién eres, de dónde vienes, por qué estás aquí, de qué eres capaz y hacia dónde vas, quiero que escuches esto con atención. Todo lo que necesitas para cumplir tu destino ya está dentro de ti. No necesitas permiso, no necesitas aprobación, no necesitas suerte. Todo lo que necesitas es descubrirlo, creerlo y actuar. Tu vida no es un accidente. Cada talento, cada experiencia, cada desafío y cada victoria fueron diseñados para prepararte para este momento. Dios, la vida, el universo, como quieras llamarlo, ha colocado dentro de ti un propósito que nadie más puede cumplir. No hay otra persona como tú, nunca la habrá, y por eso tu impacto en el mundo es único y irreemplazable. Ahora imagina tu vida como un lienzo en blanco. Cada decisión que tomas es un trazo de pintura, cada acción una pincelada, cada pensamiento un color que da forma a la obra maestra que eres tú. Tienes en tus manos la capacidad de crear algo extraordinario, algo que inspire, que transforme y que deje un legado. Pero debes decidir empezar hoy, aquí y ahora. Nunca más permitas que el miedo, la duda o la opinión de otros te detengan. Cada vez que sientas inseguridad, recuerda, naciste para esto. El mundo necesita tu contribución, tu visión y tu grandeza. Nadie más puede cumplir tu propósito. Nadie más puede caminar tu camino. Nadie más puede llevar tu luz al mundo. Aquí está el secreto final. El éxito, la realización, la alegría, la paz y la influencia que deseas no dependen de las circunstancias externas. Dependen de ti, de tus decisiones, de tu disciplina, de tu coraje y de tu persistencia. Cada día que eliges avanzar, cada día que eliges creer en ti mismo, cada día que eliges actuar con propósito, te acercas al cumplimiento de tu destino. Levántate cada mañana con la certeza de que tu vida tiene significado, que tu éxito está garantizado y que tu destino ya está escrito. No por casualidad, no por suerte, sino porque fuiste diseñado para triunfar, para impactar y para dejar una huella que nunca será borrada. Recuerda siempre, tú no eres un error, no estás aquí por accidente. Todo lo que eres, todo lo que has vivido y todo lo que sueñas se une para un propósito más grande. Dios, la vida o el universo ya han asegurado tu éxito. Solo depende de ti aceptar tu papel, actuar con fe y caminar hacia adelante con valentía. Hoy es el día en que decides vivir con propósito. Hoy es el día en que reclamas tu destino. Hoy es el día en que comienzas a escribir tu legado. Levántate, camina con determinación. Cree en ti mismo y cumple la razón por la que fuiste enviado a este mundo. Tu vida, tu éxito, tu destino y tu legado comienzan ahora.